This is Behind the Mic, local and worldwide. Interviews with the stars of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. A talk show that will inform, entertain, and take you to the edge, maybe even over. Now from the Big Z studio in suburban Chicago, here's the host of Behind the Mic, Gary Zahara.
Thanks, Mitch. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Mic. I'm your host, Gary Zahara. Great to be back behind the microphone here with you guys and having another show. It's been a while. We're turning the page from spring to summer. Hopefully we'll get some more shows out to you. Everybody's on hiatus, so we're looking to schedule a lot of actors and actresses and even some musicians. Also, the Summer Fun Concert happened. At the time of this taping, it's Father's Day here in Chicagoland and, of course, all over America. Happy Father's Day to everybody. But my first guest this year marks 40 years in television and film with roles on The Nanny, Sisters, Entourage, and It's Complicated. But she is most famous for her stint on SNL from 1985 to 1990 and The Way She Left. Nora Dunn joins me behind the mic next.
Experience the power of advanced skincare technology at LA Tan in Lisle. LA Tan in Lisle is proud to offer red light therapy, the revolutionary red light technology that targets all layers of the skin. The 5 distinct red and near-infrared wavelengths carry unique benefits and maximizes the potency of your treatments, unlocking your skin's true potential. Embrace the future of skincare and discover a new you with red light therapy at LA Tan in Lisle in Maple Square. Call 630-810-5900 to book your appointment today. 630-810-5900. LA Tan in Lisle. Look good, feel good.
Brought to you by Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you.
She was Liz Sweeney, along with her sister Candy, played by the late and funny Jan Hooks of the Sweeney Sisters, talk show host Pat Stevens, and the melodramatic French prostitute Babette. Those characters in part saved SNL from cancellation in 1985. I'm pleased to welcome behind the mic the very funny and talented Nora Dunn. Hi, Nora. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me. And, you know, funny story. You and I already talked about the funny story, how we got this going. It's been, we've been playing phone tag. You've been busy with a lot of other interviews, but high school and college basketball for 40 years, just ended my 40th year. And I was at the Wintrust Arena. They were doing a Illinois Basketball Hall of Fame tribute to Gene Pingatore, and one of the coaches that I know really well from York High School, his name is Mike Dunn. And for some reason, didn't incorporate the name there, Nora, as I'm sitting there, and he gets up and goes to the bar, and I'm looking, and there's this lady with a dog on her lap and turns sideways, and I'm like, oh, you know, she kind of looks familiar. And then you turn around, I'm like, oh my God, that's Nora Dunn. So I go up to Mike, and I go, Mike, been in this industry since 1989. I go, I should know these things. And he starts laughing, and I point, I go, is that Nora Dunn? And he goes, yep, that's my aunt. I'm like, oh, geez, a small world. So I got to thank your nephew for putting this together. But how's things going?
Good. Yeah, things are going real well.
Okay, you got any new projects going on?
I have to just say no. I finished. No, I wrote a play last year that took up many months of my time. And then I put it on in a theater with a cast. And then, you know, I had to send it out, and it's kind of like, you know, kind of have to air out after that kind of thing. It's hard to get a play produced. It's not like a film. And I had Jim Belushi as in, you know, in mind for the character. And I happened to be, when I went to the 50th anniversary, on the red carpet with him. He was right before me. And I go, Nora, you got to hunt him down if he's here, because you want him. And I did send him the script. So I'm still waiting to hear from him.
When you're in this industry and when you take a step back as you get older in the industry with the years, like I said, 40 years, you're still doing it. Obviously you haven't retired, but are you more selective on projects, or do you still want to work, or you just want to like relax and enjoy the rest of your life?
I can't say that I've retired, but I kind of have, because I was doing a show, Home Economics, which I really, really enjoyed. We did 4 seasons, ABC, really wonderful cast, and such a great premise. And we got canceled because of the Screen Actors Guild strike. And we worked all through COVID and got through that. And then, meanwhile, I was working at the same time on Chicago Med here in Chicago. And I was busy for about 2.5 years because I did another series at that same studio where Chicago Med is. And then when we got canceled, I started doing another thing that year, which was writing. And I've always written, I've always wanted to write. And so I wrote this play. And then after that, I'm like, well, I don't know if I actually want to go flying again. I had to turn down a part because well, about a couple months ago, my manager's like not speaking to me. But I
Well, I'm
had a
glad I didn't reach out to him for an interview. I'm glad I ran into
had
Mike
a
and saw you in
viral
person.
skin infection.
Yeah.
And it was, it was a movie with Sally Fields, and it was a really good part, but I couldn't do it. And the thing about actors with managers and stuff is that no matter how you feel, no matter what's going on in your life, pack your bags and get on the plane. And I've done that. I did that for 30 years. But my manager was not happy with I was doing an indie here in Chicago, which was really fun. But then after that I thought, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to have to go to the airport. I don't want to get on a plane. I'm just waiting for that either to pass or I will just go to a nursing home.
Yeah. I'll tell you which two not to go to. Okay. So it's too, you're way too young to go to a nursing home, Nora. So we're not ready for that. The two titles here, as I'm looking at DMZ and The Hater, were the last two that you did. Talk about those two projects. I know they were about 2-3 years ago, but
Mhm.
talk about those two projects.
Well, The Hater was an indie that was real interesting. It was an actress director, and she made a big splash at Sundance. And but the movie took so long to get off the ground, and it was such an indie. I mean, sometimes you get into these indies and you're like, oh my God. When I left the night of my last, shot for the film, I'm out in like a parking lot in a little tent changing my clothes, and it was freezing cold out. I'm not doing any more indies. But the movie's out, it did finally come out. But that's what, when you're an actor, you do the movie, you leave, and then especially on these indies. I mean, I did a movie called The Lost Husband, which was shot in Texas. And it was kind of not that much of a low budget, but that was the number one film on Netflix for several weeks. And you never know what you're getting into. Sometimes you get into something that's like a huge success, and sometimes you get into something that you never hear about again, and you don't think about it.
Is it something, the feeling that you get, or when your managers contact you and say, hey, listen, pack your bags, get on a plane, or do you look at it and say, this might be interesting and want to give it a shot?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, I did what do they call mini series in Atlanta during COVID, and it had a good cast, and so this again was COVID was going, so we it was weird. We had to be, just how abnormal COVID was,
Right.
but this is HBO Max, and it was just a beast. It was very disorganized. At one point, the production had taken off a full, almost huge portion of downtown Atlanta to shoot this big Armageddon scene. And while we were shooting, I'm hearing all these cop cars everywhere. And suddenly we were surrounded by police, and the police were chasing the the carjackers through the set, which was Armageddon. And there were people in the cast that had weapons and so forth. And I'm just standing there with the makeup artist, and cops are running by with their guns drawn, chasing these carjackers.
Should have
And one
added
of the,
that into the movie. Maybe it would have been more exciting. So,
so, I mean, this was a fairly good sized budget show, and here comes, an AD comes over and goes, "No, the director knows what's happening, but we're still shooting." I go, "Yeah, I think there's going to be some shooting in a minute." But when you do those things, you never know what you're getting into. I mean,
let's
it's like,
start. Let's start from the beginning. Okay, Chicago, born and bred, grew up on the West Side. Talk about your journey from Providence, St. Mel, and St. Mary's all girls boarding school,
oh
all the
boy.
way to Studio 8H. Tell me how that journey goes for Nora Dunn.
Well, it was a long road. A lot of different roads, highways, roadblocks, downfalls, car accidents. Yeah, I mean, I went to school in the what they called the inner city back in the day. When I grew up, we didn't have names for neighborhoods. There was only two names: good neighborhood, bad neighborhood.
Right.
So we lived on the west side in like borderline bad neighborhoods. But my sister had gone to Providence High School. I went to Providence High School. And by the time I was there, it was fully integrated. And my class was exceptional. We went and worked for Head Start. We were the first, people to go and work for Head Start, and we were very passionate. We called themselves the Flower Children and all this. But then we had to go through a lot of political stuff. And when Martin Luther King was assassinated, everything just burned down, literally. And I really couldn't go back to the school because most of my friends were Black, and they didn't really, we couldn't go on as we were. So my parents sent me to a boarding school after that, all Catholic boarding school, all girls in Nauvoo, Illinois. And I didn't want to go, but I'm glad I did because I'd been an inner city kid. So when I went to boarding school, I was like, oh, apples come from trees? I didn't know any of these. I never thought about it. I had friends that have, at school that grew up in the country. And so, I'd see a big truckload of pigs and I go, where are they going with those pigs? What's happening? They go, they're going to go be pork chops. So that was my awakening. But I made very, very close friends there, and it's a good experience. And then I got out of there, I moved right into the city with an apartment with my sister, and I went to the Art Institute. I got accepted there, so I started studying there, but I didn't really pan out into a career in drawing and painting. But I
And you
did.
want Did you want to get into as you left and went into the Art Institute? And I see that your dad was an actor as
Yeah.
well. I mean, was it inevitable that dad would influence you in your career?
Well, my dad did all these plays, and I thought my dad was a Broadway star. He was performing in community theater. My sister Mary was a wonderful actor. She did plays, but when I was little, I had terrible stage fright. I had one part in a play. I had to be a maid and come out and say a line. And when the play came on, I couldn't do it. I couldn't go out there. So things, I had terrible stage fright. But yeah, because my dad was in theater and my parents took us to see plays, I kind of had that in the back of my mind. And certainly my brother Kevin did. Kevin went to college on a football scholarship, but he was a theater major. So, um, and then I eventually ended up going to California, ended up in San Francisco. And when I went to San Francisco City College, which had a great theater department. And that's when I started, doing theater, and I fell in love with that. From there, I went into San Francisco. I couldn't get theater parts, but comedy was the big thing. Robin Williams was the big thing in San Francisco. He wasn't on Mork and Mindy yet. So
Mhm.
um, I started writing my characters and performing them on stage. And Whoopi Goldberg at the time was in Berkeley. She was performing there, and I go, I want to do what she does because she just gets up there and she plays these characters. So I did that. Ellen DeGeneres started right when I started, Paula Poundstone. um, it was a big scene, and I just stumbled on it. And I thought, well, I'm going to write my own parts and be on stage rather than go in and audition for a play and not get the part.
So you had dad as an actor. He thought he was a Broadway star. Kevin went and did his thing and became an actor. But I look, your other brother was a football coach, and so
Yeah.
I asked this to everybody, male, female, if I have them on, is no opportunities or no wanting to play sports when you were younger or growing up?
I loved watching football. My brother is still my hero, my brother Mike. He, he started, I think, in sixth grade playing football. And I loved the game. I just loved it. And he was the quarterback, and then he went on in high school, and he went on to college, and then he coached it. And I think that for my brother Mike, that was his theater. His theater was being a quarterback. And I didn't play sports. I played volleyball, of course, in high school, and I played basketball in high school. But when I started in basketball, women weren't even, we couldn't go full court. We had to, it was ridiculous. We couldn't really, in Catholic school, they did not promote you to be in sports. They wanted you to be a housewife. So I really was not, but loved Hollywood, volleyball and basketball, but I never followed that route. But watching my brother play football, and then my dad was a huge baseball and hockey fan. So I grew up on that.
So how does the journey from San Francisco to Studio 8H happen? How do you get there?
Well, first of all, Dana Carvey was in San Francisco, and when I started doing comedy, he was emerging. And he was kind of like, he was a beacon to me because he told stories, but the characters came out in his stories. He was just wonderful. He was Robin Williams, but in slower motion. Because when Robin was up there, it was constant barrage, barrage. He was just like a Tommy gun. And I got to perform with Robin once alone for about 45 minutes. And I lasted with him. But Robin was really, really encouraging. He was a mentor, and he was very shy in himself. But of course, when he went on stage, he came alive. But that's how I met all these people. And that's what I was doing. I love getting up on stage. I loved comedy.
Do you remember your audition for Saturday Night Live?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had to wait. I fell asleep because Lauren Michaels was coming. I must have waited a couple of hours, and I actually fell asleep waiting for my audition. But I knew at the time I auditioned, I had so much material. I had so many characters. Um, and I just put it out there. So, from that, from going, and actually I didn't, Kevin had an agent, my brother Kevin, and he he was hilariously funny and doing comedy, but he was an actor. He wasn't really that enthused about, you know, Saturday Night Live. But he had an agent. So when he went to his agent, he said, "You should see my sister. You should send her to the audition. She doesn't have an agent."
So my next question there was going to be your brother, sister in the same industry, but you just touched on he wasn't a big fan of like the improv comedy. So there was no like
He was
sibling rivalry,
no,
him and
nothing
you,
like that.
no?
Kevin was already doing plays, and then he did one of the first series ever shot in Chicago. And he was always working, always working. So when we had a little group that we performed with, and we had a lot of fun together. But that really wasn't what what Kevin was aiming for. Or for me, I wasn't doing theater. So I had all these characters, and then when I went into audition, I did that, and then I got the call to go to New York, and once I got that one call to go to New York, I never came home.
What character did you audition? Was it Babette or was it
It was Babette, it was Pat Stevens, it was a character, Ashley. Um, I can't remember all of them, but I had a lot of material
you
and a lot.
remember the producers what ones they locked onto?
No, because you couldn't really tell. I went to New York and I was staying in the same hotel with Dennis Miller and other people who were, but we were just there forever. They bought us there and we were auditioning every day. And people would be missing. You didn't know, we never knew what was going on. And we also we didn't, we were staying in a nice hotel, but we didn't have any money. They didn't give us per diem. So I remember Dennis saying, "Did you crack open your mini bar?" And I go, "No, I don't. We don't know if they're paying for it." So he told me that he was eating pretzels on the street. He goes, "Those big pretzels, they fill you up for the day." So we were just eating. It was very at some point when I finally went in for my last audition, I kept auditioning. I was there for well over 2 weeks. And the last time I went in, I remember I had it. I had no money. I wasn't getting hired, but I kept auditioning. And I went to this last auditioning, and Al Franken came down and he said, "They're ready for you upstairs. There's 30 people in the room. It's a network, it's everybody." And I said, "I'm not going up there." And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I'm hungry." And he was just like shocked. What? I go, "I want a Coke, I want a sandwich, I want a pack of cigarettes."
You'll have nothing like it, right?
And I can't, I just, at that time, I was just, that's it. And he went out and he got all those things for me. I had my sandwich, my Coke, I smoked a couple cigarettes. I went up there like 35 minutes late. I walked in there as this pompous actress in character, and I walked out, and I remember I was going down the stairs, and Al started coming down the stairs. He goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going home." And he said, "No, you're hired. You're hired." And I never went home. I
Wow.
never went home.
Wow, what a great story. Well, Lorne Michaels comes back in 1985 when you get hired. That first year, horrible, according to everybody. And then you survive the mass exodus of everybody getting fired except you. And I think it was a Dennis Miller. And then some new people came. Al Franken was still around. Then you got the rejuvenation. You had Dana Carvey, Mike Myers, Phil Hartman, and your TV sister Jan Hooks. Talk about that after that first year. Did you think that I better go look maybe
Oh, I
parking
thought we
cars or
were
something? Yeah,
canceled. I
yeah.
left there feeling we were canceled. Um, Everyone on the show was very talented, but the actors there weren't improvisers. They were already famous. They were already in movies and stuff. So they didn't understand, creating on camera, like improvising. They had always had written parts in movies, so it wasn't working. But I remember Robert Downey, hilarious. Oh my God, he was so smart. He was so funny. We did a really funny thing together, but nothing worked that year. We got the worst reviews that I've ever read in my life. Really hilarious.
Do you still have them? Did you keep any of them or?
Well, when we were doing the documentary, they asked me if I would read these reviews, and oh my God, it's in the documentary. I was laughing so hard I was crying. Just the worst things you could imagine. But I was oblivious to it because I was on TV. And I was awestruck when I watched 8H, like, oh my God, there's the bee standing in this big glass case. And I saw all those the early episodes of Saturday Night Live. You had to come home. You couldn't record or anything. You had to be home at 11. And that cast was, they were like the Beatles. So, yeah, it was exciting kind of to be there for that first season, but on the other hand, it was tanking. Not, I didn't think we were coming back.
So knowing that, did you have a backup plan?
No, I never had a backup plan. I think that's my success story. Everybody that I know that made it through show business and made their living at it had no plan B. So I guess I always thought, well, I don't know. I was waiting on tables for many years, and at least for the 1 year I was on Saturday Night Live, I thought, well, I might be able to build on this. I think I could definitely get back into clubs. But I didn't, you know, it was a very strange experience for me because I had never been on television. I'd never been in a studio. I didn't have an agent. Um, but I didn't have stage fright or anything. I mean, from when you get up in front of a live audience, that's scary. So when people ask me about how scary it was for saying, it wasn't that scary. I mean, the camera, the red light comes on and you're on and you just go.
Nora Dunn is my guest on Behind the Mic. We're going to take a quick time out and come back with more right after this.
Experience the power of advanced skincare technology at LA Tan in Lisle. LA Tan in Lisle is proud to offer red light therapy, the revolutionary red light technology that targets all layers of the skin. The 5 distinct red and near infrared wavelengths carry unique benefits and maximizes the potency of your treatments, unlocking your skin's true potential. Embrace the future of skincare and discover a new you with red light therapy at LA Tan in Lisle in Maple Square. Call 630-810-5900 to book your appointment today. 630-810-5900. LA Tan in Lisle. Look good, feel good.
Brought to you by Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you.
Okay.
Nora Dunn is my guest on Behind the Mic here. I'm Gary Zahara. Welcome in. Thanks for joining me. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're on Instagram at the one Behind the Mic. Also on Facebook, behind-the-mic. And if you want to hit me on my personal, I'm at the one Z-Force. We'll have all that stuff at the bottom and follow the links if you can. Nora Dunn is my guest. Nora, we're talking about Saturday Night Live and how you grew into it. How did the Sweeney Sisters form, and were they based on anybody?
No, it's something that, Jan just pulled out of a hat. I mean, I was so happy that Jan Hooks came on the show. I mean, she saved everything. She was just a godsend. So she came up with this idea to do these singers. And she was really good with music. She was really, really the leader of the medley when we came up with the medley. She knew all the songs, and she came up with the Sweeney Sisters. Well, my godmother was Elizabeth Sweeney, so that's how I became Liz Sweeney. And I don't know, we hit it off as people, and we had the same kind of sense of how we perform. She was an actress and a comedian, so we were told when we came up with that idea, oh no, the writer said, you can't do that. It's been done. Bill Murray did it. No, the head writer said, no, no way. But we went ahead. We wrote the medley and the sketch, and then we did it with Mark Shaman, who went on to be, world famous as our medley maestro. He did all the music for the show at that time. And we did it at the reading, at Read Through Wednesday, and it killed. And
Didn't
that
it start out as like commercial tunes or something? You were just singing commercial songs or something like that, or
always we came up with our whole idea of who we were. We were lounge singers, and we also had egos. We were never put down. They believed in themselves that they were famous. Whereas like Nick, the reason that they said we couldn't do that, because Bill Murray did Nick, his lounge singer, he was like a bitter lounge singer. But the Sweeney Sisters were not. They were really happy. And that's what made them so funny, is because even when they were playing in a lobby, for them, it was a great gig. And, we just, it really, I think, the Sweeney Sisters, I believe, saved the show in a way. Lauren had us open the Emmys, and that we had to do live. It's very different than doing a sketch in the show to open the Emmys. It was terrifying.
I'll
But
be honest with you. Last 3 weeks, I've been watching that over and over again. And when I looked up for Sweeney Sisters on YouTube, there's just a few clips. The Emmys obviously is a big one,
yeah,
and I think you did. I forgot there was something else, but then also your Babette was on there as well, and Stevens, the talk show host. So
Steven.
I don't know why the Sweeney Sisters are
Cool.
not more featured. Maybe
They
Saturday Night
are.
Live.
If you look up Sweeney's, you'll see a lot because we actually had to say no a lot of times when Lauren wanted us to do the Sweeney Sisters, like he would want Dana to do the church lady.
Right, like Overkill, right?
Overkill, but it's hard to come up with sketches every week. It depends on what's happening in the news. There's so many things that hang on what you're going to do. And Lauren would say, "How about the Sweeney Sisters?" No, I did a lot of Pat Stevens, and then Dana had to put his foot down a while, saying, "I can't just continue doing the church lady. I have to do." And but our cast was that cast that came on after the first disastrous year. Just everybody had material, everybody had characters, and I just that's I mean, I think that's why we were a big success that year because everyone was looking for us to fail, but it was really Dana Carvey that saved us. People love Dana Carvey. There's something about him when he's on TV, who he is plays through, and they just loved him, not just the church lady. They loved him. And then he brought the rest of us in. I think that Dana introduced the audience to the cast. And
When
so,
when you talked earlier about the stage fright for you, and when the Sweeney Sisters put together, and when you guys went out there, it just did your stage fright just go away? Did that help you with
yeah.
your yeah?
Yeah, once we started performing, I mean, I've looked at the tape of that because I can't really kind of remember how it felt. It was like, wow, you're in front of this huge audience. It's the Emmys. They're going to be judgmental. A lot of people didn't even know who we were, but Mary Tyler Moore was there. And she hosted Saturday Night Live. And when she walked into the morning meeting, she said, "I don't care what I do. I want to be a Sweeney sister."
Oh,
Just about fainted. It was like, oh my God. And we did it. And we did probably our longest sketch was with her. And we were playing in a lobby. But she was, oh my God, she was one of my favorite hosts. But the Sweeneys were our beloved. I mean, for a long time, when I lived in LA, trick-or-treaters would come to the door and they were the Sweeney sisters and they knew where I lived and and people to this day talk to me about the Sweeney sisters and Pat Stevens.
would the trick or treaters sing Sweeney Sister tunes to you? Yeah,
They'd go into their
yeah,
medley.
yeah.
But I
That's
mean,
That's good stuff. And I know Jan passed away. She's been gone for 11 years. I read that the 40-year anniversary, they didn't do sort of a tribute. You were a little bit upset about that. I saw the 50th anniversary. Were you at the 50th?
yeah,
Did they do anything for Jan at the 50th? I didn't watch the whole thing.
not really. I think, there was a show on Friday night at Radio City Music Hall with all kinds of talent, the bands and that performed for Saturday Night Live. That was magnificent. My niece came with me. We went to that. It was the best. I mean, I've seen a lot of shows. That was the best. The way it was produced, it was live on television. So it was one band after the other, and it was just the best performers in the world, I think. And that I think a lot of effort went into that because I don't know how many people that place seats, if it's 3,000 or what it is, but and then the show itself, I think wandered. I don't know. I was visualizing why not have Eddie Murphy out on stage as Mr. Rogers? That character was just one of the most memorable in Saturday Night Live. Why wasn't he there and people come into Mr. Rogers' neighborhood? Cast members, one after the other. It didn't seem to focus on the history of the show. It tried to be just a sketch show And then it seemed like there was a lot of attention paid to the movie stars in the audience. And, you know, in the early days, I was a huge fan of Saturday Night Live, and I loved it because it did not cater to movie stars and fame. The famous people were the cast. And then we kind of morphed into, oh, look at this big star who's hosting, and this star is going to be on, and that star's here. And look how, and I'm not into that at all. I feel like the cast has always been the star of the show. And when I left the show, um, it was just, oh my God, I started over again because I love Molly Shannon. I love Anna Gasteyer, Kristen Wiig, and then Tina Fey came on and she was doing News Update, and Amy Poehler, just hilarious. I mean, that to me was just like, oh my God. I felt like, Jan and I laid our little groundwork, and then these women came on and just killed it. Um, but that didn't show. It just wasn't honored. That was not honored in the anniversary show.
One
So
of the other
that
castmates that came on early in your tenure that you work with was John Lovitz, and I read that there was sort of a love-hate relationship with John Lovitz. Was it like the stepbrother you never wanted?
no, he was like the brother. He was well, first of all, he's a very unique talent. And I don't think there's never been anybody that did this kind of comedy with that he did. And he and Phil, of course, had worked together before, and they did all kinds of great stuff together. But we always had major fights. I remember when John Malkovich did the show, I had a great time with him. We wrote a sketch together, but John was like this kind of, he could be the pesky little brother. And Malkovich, we had wrote the sketch and he wanted to rehearse a lot and stuff. So we're in the studio rehearsing, and John came in and starts banging on the piano. And Malkovich goes, does he always do that? And I go, yeah, he kind of always does that.
And John Malkovich is a serious actor. So you see some of the films he's in, but of course in Red 1 and 2, he was funny. He's got some comedic skills
Hilarious.
as well. So
Glenn Tuckwilla. And Jan and I had a sketch called The Attitudes. Well, my mother lived up in Washington State, and Tuckwilla County was right next to her, and he was a driftwood artist. And I just gave him that. We sat down together and we wrote that sketch together. It just came out. And I thought that was one of the Attitudes was a really good vehicle for me and Jan, but that was our best.
was it a strain thing with John? Was it real, or do you have a good relationship with him now, or
No, not really. I mean, I always hug him. I love him. Um,
is he strange off camera as well? Is he the same off camera, or is he just kind of like to himself? It's kind of impish kind
no,
of
he's
guy.
um, I think well, he knew Penny Marshall and a lot of people, and he did films, but I think he could have done um, movies and stuff like that. But he's like I say, he's an odd guy. Um, he said a lot of bad things about me, but what, it's never, I don't know, because it came from him, it's never bothered me.
Right,
I
right.
love the guy. I mean, as much as some people didn't like him because he was a pest, it's like, I get him. I met his parents. I know his history. And he was big at the Groundlings. And there's no way you could ever replicate his humor. It's his. And, Phil got him. He totally got him. And then when Phil, died, I felt terrible for John. I told him that. I know. I mean, he loved Phil. Phil was his brother, and that was a major blow in his life, I'm sure.
They lead me right into my next question, with being able to work with Phil Hartman. Talk about Phil Hartman, the talent, and Phil Hartman, the man.
Oh my God. Phil and I, he is so funny. He comes from a big family, and he and I had gone to this party one night. It was an after hours thing, and we didn't know what to expect. And we go to this party, and it was not a lot of people, just a few, but um, uh, Bianca Jagger was there with oh God, name. See now names I can't. But famous people come to mind. I can't think of their name. Um, but it was very small, and we were kind of high. And those days, people were doing. You go to a party in New York late at night. It was Perrier and cocaine.
Oh, nice.
We didn't get to the party till like 3 in the morning. And Sam Kinison was there, and he was there with a famous porn star.
Oh.
And we both recognized her. I was like, okay, I admit I recognize her. She's a singer. And we end up talking to her. And she says to Phil and me, she goes, well, I do what you do. I do movies. And, we have a script and we have a director. So we're actors. And Phil goes, yeah, but we don't fuck each other in front of the camera.
What? Oh my God. Oh.
And then there was, oh my God, probably one of the most famous guys in the world was there who has died. He was there with Bianca Jagger. Um, famous singer. It'll pop into my mind because sometimes I can't remember. Like I always remember my sibling's name. But
Lemmy from Motorhead. What
no,
kind of genre of music?
um,
Michael Hutchins from NXS.
no, think of the most. Uh, he was kind of he created an androgynous character for himself, but
Oh,
he's
David Bowie.
David Bowie.
David Bowie.
David
Okay.
Bowie.
Bowie was on. I was at the tip of my tongue when I was thinking, David Bowie,
I
really?
know, so I can't even, it can't come up. So I was like, well, we're at a very small party. I was real high. I see him standing there talking to Bianca. So I go, well, I guess I'll be like a member of the party. Phil and I were totally new to this. And I go, well, I'm just going to go start, I'll chat with David Bowie and Bianca Jagger. So I walked up and I stood there. They completely ignored me. And after about 5 minutes, I thought, well, I'll just slink away. And then when Phil and I left that party, it was light out. We was like 5 in the morning. And he was like, what was that? And I go, I don't know. I don't know. And that's the night that he told me he was going to get married. And I don't know, it was like we bonded that night, like at that weird, it's like we didn't know that scene at all. We didn't know that scene. And Ed, when you're on Saturday Night Live, then you kind of get to know it because we have a party after the show and it's very late. And then there's those that go, oh, there's another party. And it starts at like 3 a.m. And then you go to these small parties and you see really famous people. And I go, wait a minute, that man's married. Why is he going to the bedroom with another woman? You know, like they'd be really famous actors there. And it was just, I mean, I remember going, you got to guard against this. You don't ever want to be, you don't want to be in that scene. I was
Did it make you want to not get together with your cast members or date or do whatever with the people that
cast
you were
members,
working with?
our cast members weren't like that.
Yeah.
We were always very down to earth and I think just kind of normal. But I think we were exposed to like going out late and I go seeing one of the biggest actors working or something, and you go, wow, I don't know what I'm going to say to this. I don't know. I didn't do too well talking to Bianca and David Bowie.
Happens to the best of them, Nora.
Hey, I really like your music, David. It's really great. I saw you.
Oh
I,
my God.
I was just like, and they just completely ignored me. I go, we don't do that in the Midwest. They'd say, hey, I could say, hey, would you guys like a drink or something? Can I get you something? No. But Phil was really he was a writer. He wrote for Pee Wee Herman before he came on the
He's a
show.
very funny man. Very funny man. Do you
Oh,
think if do you think Phil Hartman yeah, it's hypothetical here, obviously. If Phil Hartman doesn't get murdered, is there a Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live? Because it seemed to be like almost the same, don't you think?
Will and Phil.
Yeah. Do you think same type of comedy?
I think they had a very similar sense of humor, and also um, they were so relatable because while they were doing what they do, they were kind of telling you who they were at the same time. Like Will Ferrell, long before I met him, I already felt like I knew him. And then when I met him, he was that guy that I thought I knew. He is that guy. He's just a real down to earth guy. And Phil never took all that so seriously as some people did, like fame. And I don't think he was that into it, that part of it.
Okay, so now we're going to go into this the big thing that everybody knows you for, the walking off the show and leaving Saturday Night Live because of Andrew Dice Clay. You and Sinead O'Connor were teaming up. You didn't like the fact that he came on. You didn't like his comedy. I read that you said he was misogynistic, a woman hater, this kind of stuff. Um, when you did that, when you knew he was coming on, and Lauren, I think Lauren said it's kind of an exploration or something like that, or we're trying to,
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I didn't leave the show. I just said I wasn't going to do that show because we had one more show to go. And
right.
then I was leaving the show. Al Franken knew that because Lauren never, and he doesn't really like to confront actors and talk to them about, are you leaving? I think he never liked anyone to want to leave the show. If there was a rumor that when my contract is up, I'm not going to stay.
So
He,
you already had in your mind that you were leaving,
oh,
correct?
absolutely. That the last year I was on the show, I didn't want to write another sketch in my life. And I had done movies before I left Saturday Night Live. And I really wanted to do that. I liked that. And actually, after I left the show, I met with a director from London, and he hired me to be in his movie. And he had directed Elfie and other great movies. And I had a great talk with him about that. He said no, because he came from theater and then he directed movies. And it was a movie with Liza Minnelli. And he said, no, no, actors the art form is about integrity. It's about what you believe. That's part of it. So, I mean, I had no doubt when I heard that he was doing the show, which I didn't know that he was doing it till Monday. There was no way I was going to do that. I was well aware of his material. And I thought, oh my God, I want to leave here with my dignity intact. That's what I felt. And I did not want to perform with him. So to me, I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. It was it was the big comedy week in New York with Whoopi and Robin Williams and the other big comedian. And again, not thinking of his name. He's very, really good comedian.
Are
The
you talking
three
about
of
the comic relief?
Comic Relief.
Yeah. She's yeah. Now I've drawn a blank. I know who you're talking about, the actor and
When Sally met,
analyze this, and yeah, you got when Harry met Sally. God, what the hell's his name?
no, it's terrible. But at any rate,
Okay, I know I'm getting old now, so here we go.
well,
Nice crack production staff I have here. So
I had gigs scheduled that week, and I had a couple club dates to do, and I was going to go see people like Kevin Meaney and all these people that came in from the West Coast came in to New York. It wasn't about me not doing the show. I mean, the people in the cast kind of whipped up themselves into a frenzy. There's nothing like that.
Billy
I
Crystal, Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal, yeah.
There you go. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
But I think Lauren, rather than, just saying, oh, she's not doing the show, whatever, I think he made it a bigger deal. And I had told the cast members I wasn't doing it. I told them I didn't think they should do it, but that was up to them. But I had gotten a call from an AP reporter out of the blue, and he asked me. He said, "Well, it's said that your contract isn't going to be renewed for Saturday Night Live." And I was like, "Well, that's not true." I mean, I said my 5 years are up. I'm not coming back. And he read me the release that Saturday Night Live was putting out that's saying that my contract was not going to be renewed for next season, and intimated that I was difficult and blah, 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 blah. And I said, that's not true at all. I'm not doing the show this week with Andrew Dice Clay. And that's because he's a misogynist who does jokes about rape and calls gay people fags and does fag jokes, and it's just a hateful act. And he doesn't belong on Saturday Night Live, and I'm not going to perform with him. That's all that's about. I mean, I felt that Lauren knew that I was not coming back because Al Franken knew that I was not coming back. My contract was up, but they were going to make it look like, yeah, I was, they were not renewing it.
If
So
you had renewed your contract for two,
no,
3 years or whatever, would you have still taken a stand and not performed with Andrew Clay, Dice Clay?
of course, I had a 5-year contract,
Right.
and I had, like I said, I did, as soon as I left there, I did another movie. I really wanted to do movies. I really just wanted to do other stuff. I did not want to write another sketch. I saw that Adam Sandler was coming on the show. It seemed like his humor was geared more towards 12-year-old boys. I don't have a place in that. My comedy is not geared towards preteens and that kind of thing. And it was always tough on Saturday Night Live because, Jan had her writers on the show, and we did a lot, but we didn't do what the next group of women, because they had more women. It was just Jan and me and Victoria, and Victoria did not really have characters. She didn't really, she couldn't write for herself, and so it was only me and Jan. That was it. And we rarely had a female host, and the writers always said it was so hard to write for women. It was, so it was always a struggle. And when I got off, the next series I did with Sisters, I did that for 3 years.
When
And
you when you left and they put that release out, did you think that maybe your career would take a hit? Maybe you wouldn't be working as much anymore?
not at all. It never entered my mind. I told the reporter told me, if you give me your statement, I'll put it on the wire. Theirs is not on the wire. Yours will come out first. So I said, okay, I'm not doing the show because I'm not going to perform with Andrew Dice Clay. He's a misogynist. And I had no plans of returning to Saturday Night Live. My contract is up. And that went out in the paper. And then NBC withdrew their statement. And then they put instead a statement that said, we support Nora and we understand why she doesn't want to do the show. And I thought that was the end of it.
Nora Dunn is joining me here on Behind the Mic. A few more questions before we get to our final segment of In a Word. Okay, as you've done film, you've done television. As we talked at the break, you worked on one of my favorite shows ever, Boston Legal. You had a cup of coffee there. Do you remember anything about that show? Working on that show?
Oh, no, I love Boston Legal because I love the cast, but I have to say, I did so many shows I can't. I go Boston Legal. Oh yeah, yeah. The show that I did do that I loved was New Girl.
Right.
I was Schmidt's mom, and I loved that job. And then I really love that these girls who are now maybe they might be 30. They'll come up and say, "Are you Schmidt's mom?" I love that because they let us improvise, and I love the show. And I used to bring my dog to the set. I did X-Files. I did 2 episodes of X-Files. So we're in the desert for a long time, and my husband was Michael McKean, and we had a ball. I mean, I did a lot of that kind of stuff.
You had a nice little run on Chicago Med for 6 years. You did about 10 episodes as
I
Dr.
did
Richardson.
I did
Yeah.
10 episodes in one season. And then I did years ago, early on, I did a couple episodes.
How
But
did it feel to
before,
be back working in Chicago in your hometown where you just take a quick drive or an Uber or a limo to the
oh,
set? Yeah.
The year I was on Chicago Med was a real bad winter, and I had to drive in from Evanston. But I also did The Big Leap. We did a full season there at the same studio. And that was kind of like a reunion with a lot of actors I had worked with before, but it did not get picked up because it was a really good series, but it was way too expensive because it was about a show called The Big Leap, and people would come on the show who had always wanted to be a dancer, but something got in their way. So every year you'd have to get a new cast for the contest, and they just couldn't do it. But it was really, that was one of, if that job could have gone, I would have been so happy because we just shot it. It was supposed to be taking place in Detroit, but we shot it all over Chicago.
And I was did a couple of those episodes for Big Leap. They did the Rialto Square one. I actually did the final episode, and then I found out that the series was canceled. So
It's fun though.
yeah,
The
it was.
worked on it.
One of the actors that was in oh God, Circle of Trust with De Niro.
Oh yeah.
And that was the episode that, and I, they ended the episode of, I guess one of the person or one of the people that was in a relationship got somebody else pregnant and whatnot. So the Rialto Square Theater, that was a long day, but it was nice. It was okay. Um, Best advice professionally and personally you got in your life?
The best advice I got. Oh
Hmm.
wow.
Personally and professionally.
Oh, personally and professionally. Well, I had an acting teacher that I studied with in San Francisco for 3 years. She came from out of the Gene Sheldon acting workshop, and I stuck with her. No acting, please. But she's the one who said, never ever do a role that compromises your integrity. And in fact, when I didn't do the Andrew Dice Clay show, she flew to New York and she stood by my side that whole week.
Pretty prophetic there. Yeah.
She she had done a movie with in a Clint Eastwood movie, and then it was very, very violent. And she said, I was ashamed that I was in that movie. I didn't realize that I was going to be a part of a movie that seemed to glorify violence. But she really had a major impact on me. And then I don't know. I did a movie with I had like 3 scenes in a Mike Nichols movie, but I didn't have a good audition, but he hired me anyway. And I asked him, I said, before I shot my scene, it was my first scene ever to be in a movie. And I said, what should I do? And he said, just do it. And it was so simple, but I know what he meant. And I think I've had a lot of good parts, and my acting thing is always, if I see actors like on the set trying to analyze and do this and that, it's like, get in front of the actor and do it. But I think what Mike Nichols meant was be it, and I still tell myself today when I'm embarking on some kind of project that I want to do, or if I think I don't think I want to go and do this, I just go, just do it. It's just simple. Just do it. I'm not saying you jump out a window, but I'm saying, um, I think it's a leap of faith. And, whenever I've been on stage, which I love so much being in plays, it is like that leap of faith. Because if you think about it too much, and I've been with actors who way overthink about something, and I go, boy, let's just look at each other and do it. And then let that be it. You can't control everything. So, I mean, I had a very good time with Mike Nichols. And he had yeah, I did another movie with him too. But the only instruction he ever gave me, he'd look at me and he'd go, And I know he didn't tell actors what to do. Even if they weren't going to give, if I can say if you weren't giving a good performance, he wouldn't tell you that. That's how much he respected actors. Just do it. And
What about personally for the best advice you've gotten?
wow, best advice I've ever gotten personally. I'd say it would come to a great therapist I had. And he said, know that you're worthy. Because I had a big, um, I just had such a roadblock because I, I had Annette Benning interested in working in this project with me, and I really got along with her, but I would not, I wouldn't, I thought, oh, I can't, I don't know, I'm not, I'm below her. And he would say, remember that you're worthy. I want you to go downstairs, get in your car, and call Annette Benning. So that I think it was about worthiness, yeah. Because everybody has their doubts about worthiness, I would think. I mean, I grew up in an Irish Catholic family, so maybe it's just me, but but I think it's some people might feel too worthy, perhaps. But I would say to any young person or somebody who wants to do something, I think they're not good enough, to say you're worthy. You have worth.
All right, Nora, real quick, if you can do it. The last question before we go to our final segment of In a Word. What's your favorite show or movie of all time? Favorite TV show, favorite movie of all time?
My favorite movie of all time is Jack Nicholson. What's the best movie ever made?
Oh, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
No, no. Before that,
Oh God.
with see, this is what happens to me. I can't think of names now.
So this is before Cuckoo's Nest.
Chinatown.
Chinatown.
Chinatown. Best script, best director, best actor, best actress. And we don't make those movies anymore.
1974, and then of course The Shining too. I thought maybe you would think The Shining, but interesting.
You know what? Actually, I thought the book The Shining was better because Jack Nicholson started out in The Shining kind of being crazy. The transition wasn't enough for me. So I argue about that with people. I go, but he was already acting crazy in the book. He wasn't crazy, and so when he starts getting crazy, but I mean, because so much of that movie was cinematic and beautiful, I loved it. But Chinatown was a brilliant script, and what we don't have enough now is that your lead character, your protagonist, loses. He doesn't win, or she doesn't win. And now I think that we do too much about, oh, you win. No, that's not life. Life is not that you win. Life is more that you lose. And Chinatown, it had to do with his integrity. His integrity he was always fighting for his integrity. And in doing that, he got another person killed that he loved. But that, for me, that's always going to be my number one movie.
What about a TV show?
My favorite TV show. I had many of them. I have to say, if you consider it, The Sopranos as a TV show,
Oh, it is. I
and
would
Sex
consider a TV show. Yeah.
City and The Sopranos, but The Sopranos was one of those shows that transformed me to the point where I go, I'm never doing this again because the people aren't. I didn't really, the last episode that they waited so long to do, I wasn't crazy about, but I felt it had the best cast, the best writing. It was so profound. I thought it was the most breakthrough through series that would just it just dug so deep. I mean, my husband and I would watch it every Sunday, and then we're like going, we watch The Sopranos and it's Sunday night, and then we never have sex on Sunday night. Oh, I know because it's The
What?
Sopranos.
Oh my God. Would that be one of the things where you don't even hang the phone up if your manager calls and said they want you on The Sopranos? You would jump at the chance to do it?
Well, I mean, I just wish I could have ever been on a show like that because, it was very sad. It was very deep. The writing and, The West Wing, that was a breakthrough show. Just the writing on The West Wing, I mean, there was the glory days of television writing were those days. Um, and Sex and the City, I love that. I thought all the acting was good. I thought the writing was great, and I identified with all of it. And since then, I mean, there's a lot of great TV, but I think those things had the biggest effect on me.
Nora, appreciate your time so much. Thanks for hanging on with us. That's the end of our segment. We're going to go to our final segment. We're going to take a final time out with Nora Dunn. We're going to do In a Word right after this on Behind the Mic. Welcome back. Nora Dunn has been my guest. Great conversation with her, the funny, talented actor and comedian, best known for her stint on Saturday Night Live. Also acting in shows as well as The Nanny Sisters, Boston Legal, my favorite show, Chicago Med for 10 episodes. Check her out. Funny still to this day. As I might put all these interviews that I'm doing here on Behind the Mic. I talk to the actors and actresses that I interview off camera while it's still rolling, and I might put some extra stuff on there. Obviously, things that are that can be put on there. We won't be talking about super personal things, but we might do some extra commentary at the end of the videos. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, at the one Behind the Mic on Instagram, at the one Z-Force, also on Facebook, behind the mic. Thanks for tuning in so far and listening. All right, Nora, thanks so much for joining me. We got one more segment. It's called In a Word. I'm going to give you 4 or 5 phrases or names, and if you can answer it in a word, fine. If not, expound as much as you
I
can,
like
okay?
the added flashcards.
Okay, here we go. First question, In a Word with Nora Dunn, growing up in Chicago.
Exciting.
Saturday Night Live.
Um, I don't know what the word for that was. I think great. It was, yeah, it was great. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, that's fine. I'm going to piggyback on that. Lorne Michaels.
Lauren Michaels Petty. Brilliant. He's a brilliant producer.
Brilliant but petty.
Brilliant but petty. Yeah.
That's an interesting combination. You can be brilliant but also be petty.
Producer.
Okay. All right. In a Word with Nora Dunn, Hollywood.
Um, Glitzy.
And this one personal for you, in a word, Jan Hooks.
Complicated.
Wow. Final question for Nora Dunn. In a word, Nora, your career.
Mm, Volcanic.
Still to this day, volcanic.
Well, I just mean that that's, I don't know. I mean that there were things, well, we don't have time to talk about why that word would matter.
Well, I mean, your resume is impressive. You've written books. You've done one-man shows. You're on one of the biggest TV shows in the history of television, Saturday Night Live. Everybody knows who you are. Thanks so much. First of all, who's sitting on your lap? Is that who's the lap dog today?
I failed my word test.
Wally the dog. I love it. I love it. So
What's your-
nothing in the pipeline down the line. What do you got plans for the summer?
This summer, I hope to get back to my project. I work in clay actually and paint, and I've done a couple projects. And my latest project is going to be about uh, deportation and transgender people who are unacceptable for some reason, for the wrong reasons. But yeah.
Will you keep in touch and let me know how that goes?
Oh, sure. I usually have a show. My last two things. It takes me about a year to finish these pieces, the artwork, and then I have a show, and it's like more like a party. So I'll definitely let you know when that happens.
Now we talked off camera. Your brother Mike.
I'll come up with some better words for my name.
If you're in a big movie, we'll have you on again for part 2 of the
It's a
interview because I'm
flash
sure I can
card.
find some more stuff to talk about. So
I can't come up with words because of flashcards.
that's
I hate-
okay. That's okay. I know your brother Mike is in the Illinois Coaches Hall of Fame. We talked about that off camera. Will you be showing up at your nephew Mike's basketball games at York High School?
His games for sure. Whether he
Okay.
likes it or not, we're there. He tries to slip away, but we get him. We
Okay.
go.
I usually do that the Jack Tosh Christmas tournament, so I'm there for Christmas time for 3 or 4 games during that tournament time during Christmas time. But Nora, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking my call and reaching out. And I'm so glad I recognized you. And it's been a great conversation. Continue success. Don't retire anytime soon. And please keep in touch.
All right. You too. You don't retire.
Well, did you think I did okay? Do I have a career in this, or do I need to do something else like park cars or something?
There's thousands of people out there. You'll grow your audience.
Okay.
Because you ask great stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll keep in touch with you. Good luck to you in your career and keep working hard. And I look forward to seeing more projects coming your way.
All right. Good night.
Experience the power of advanced skincare technology at LA Tan in Lisle. LA Tan in Lisle is proud to offer red light therapy, the revolutionary red light technology that targets all layers of the skin. The 5 distinct red and near infrared wavelengths carry unique benefits and maximizes the potency of your treatments, unlocking your skin's true potential. Embrace the future of skincare and discover a new you with red light therapy at LA Tan in Lisle in Maple Square. Call 630-810-5900 to book your appointment today. 630-810-5900. LA Tan in Lisle. Look good, feel good.
Brought to you by Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you.
Big thanks to Nora Dunn for coming on. What a great interview. Great person. A hilarious actress and comedian from Saturday Night Live. If you haven't seen her stuff for the Sweeney Sisters, go on to YouTube and knock that off. Also, Three Kings was a big movie as well. We forgot to touch on that. So if you ever get a chance to watch that, do that as well. Also, she's been on Chicago Med, Sisters, The Nanny. She's got several credits to her name. And looking forward to possibly hooking up an interview with her brother, Kevin Dunn. Also an excellent actor from Unstoppable. Also the Law and Order series as a lawyer. Also in Mark for Death as well, one of his earlier roles here in Chicago. But it's Father's Day, and it's been 8 years since Pops has passed away. Father's Day always a day where I think about him a lot. I had a toast of some amaretto and some pasta today, and just thinking about him and the man he was. People throw the word great out, but he certainly was a great man. His wisdom molded me. I'm sure he would be proud of me doing the shows and what I'm doing right now. And June 5th was the end of my 40th year of officiating, if you can believe it. Jesus, 1984. So you do the math, folks. November 1st to June 5th. And in that time, 30 days off. And ironically, this interview was set up simply because I know the head coach of the York Dukes basketball team in Elmhurst, Mike Dunn, is her nephew. So he's her nephew. Yeah, is that right? Is that how I said it right? Yeah, okay, looking at you. See, you're sitting next to me, and this is why I'm screwing it up. So, but big thanks to Mike Dunn over there at York and the Dukes, and I guess I won't have to tee you up this year. But a great conversation with Nora Dunn. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and get us on Instagram at the one behind the mic, at the one Z-Force. Also, at the time of this taping, it's Father's Day yesterday. Saturday, we went to Summer Fun Started 25, went to go see Dierks Bentley. Now, I'm a big Eric Church fan because he's a country rock kind of guy. Dierks Bentley puts on a hell of a show. Opening act was Zach Top. If you get a chance to see Dierks Bentley in concert, go see him at Credit One. I still call it the World Music Theater. The sound system's just awesome. Great place to go see a show. The Summer Fun continues coming up this Friday as we'll be heading out to see a classic group that are still around, if you can believe it, after 50, 60 years. My thanks to Heather Marie. Also, my thanks to Nora Dunn for coming on. And thanks to you for watching us right here on Behind the Mic. I'm Gary Zahara. Good night.
Behind the Mic has been brought to you by LA10 in Lisle. Call 630-810-5900 to book your red light therapy appointment. LA10. Look good, feel good. And Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you. Behind the Mic is a Did He Go production, produced by Z-Force Media. Stage manager is Heather Marie. The executive producer of Behind the Mic is Eric Ferguson.